Hello and welcome at long last to another TARDIS Eruditorium video blog. Today we're going to look at episode 3 of Planet of the Daleks, and specifically at Jo Grant in it. Now, Jo's a little weird in this episode. She doesn't get to talk for two-thirds of it, but all the same, the episode ends up, through some of its directorial choices, illustrating a lot of what I've been saying about how Jo Grant transgresses against the narrative. And to talk about this, I actually want to start by looking at just how people are filmed in a normal episode of Doctor Who. Now, this is a perfectly ordinary scene in the episode. What I want you to notice is that the people in it are filmed middle distance and their whole bodies are usually shot. Now instead, let's look at the Daleks. This next clip is just a scene of some Daleks moving around. There's two things that Maloney does with Daleks. The first is he tends to keep a Dalek in roughly the same place in the frame and track it with the camera so that instead the space seems to move behind the Dalek. The other thing is he works much closer to Daleks, using just the eye stalk, or just the gun, as you see right there. And that gives the Daleks a very particular visual style. It's different from how the humans get shown. Now let's bring Jo Grant into it. In this sequence, she's just snuck into the Dalek base. And the thing that's noticeable is, instead of being filmed normally in medium shot for people, much of this scene, once she hides there, is filmed like a Dalek scene. We stay very close to Jo as soon as we cut away from her. Close up on the face, close up on the clock, or close up on the Daleks. This is Dalek space that Jo is in. And that's how we know Jo is in danger, because the scene she's in is shot like a Dalek scene, not a person scene. Now watch this next clip, which is mostly filmed like a Dalek space. Now the basics of this scene are Dalek space. You can see we started close up on the clock again, and now close up on the Dalek where I froze the frame. But what we're about to see is Jo entering on the left side of the screen and moving through the background of the space. And the Dalek doesn't get to notice her. Jo, in other words, cheats the Dalek space. She finds an area of the frame that the Dalek isn't using, and uses it for her own purpose. She transgresses, in a very real sense, against the visual logic of the Daleks, and gets out of the base by doing it. That's what's interesting about Jo as a character. And what's interesting is, once Jo is free in the base, we go into the medium shot that's much more normal for people. Once she gets control of the scene, she exerts visual dominion over the Daleks. A space that used to be shot like a Dalek space with Jo in danger, now that she's sneaking around, is shot like Jo's space. Jo is more important in the narrative than Daleks. She's setting the rules over the Daleks. Now confined to levels. One last scene, later in the episode, where Jo has been sneaking around the base for a while. And you can see we start by treating Jo in medium shot, but more to the point, we treat the Daleks in medium shot. Maloney keeps the camera further away from the Daleks, even when they have control over the scene. Keeps them much more static in the frame than he usually does, and ends up shooting them in medium distance, moving along the back of the shot, with Jo in the foreground. Jo now has more control over these shots than the Daleks. Dalek narrative space is being redefined as Jo's space. Jo gets to take over the narrative. That's what I mean by Jo being a transgressive character. She gets to even control the camera to her advantage. Thanks for watching, and as always, you can find more commentary on the blog TARDIS Eruditorium. That's online at tardiseruditorium.blogspot.com. We hope to see you there.